friends, I'm Arpit and now I'm here with the Yojana analysis for the month of December 2024. This is the last month of 2024 and this month's edition was all about India's performance in this particular year. The multiple topics have been covered in this. We will be covering this month's Yojana in three parts. We cover it as usual every month. And the topics are divided into the following way. In the first part, we will be covering vision and roadmap for science and technology. This is the first topic. Second is reaping India's demographic dividend, strategic pathways for growth. So this is going to be the two topics, or these are going to be the two topics in the first part. Then in the second part, we will be dealing with two topics. The year of India's strategic emergence, 2024, we are talking about. Next, government initiatives in climate change, a sustainable path for Viksit Bharat at 2047. And in the third part, we will be dealing with roadmap for India's geopolitical strategy, the first topic. And the second topic is India's mission to fight sickle cell disease, sickle cell anemia we are talking about. So this entire month magazine, 6 topics will be covered in 3 parts. This is the first part and we will be dealing with these two topics. Now let's get started with the first topic, that is vision and roadmap for science and technology. See, this science and technology is very much cardinal or very much intrinsic to the success of any country or any society. Societies in the past have progressed on the basis of scientific developments, in the present are progressing on the basis of scientific developments, and in the future the same scenario will be there, that they will progress on the basis of scientific developments. Scientific developments in multiple domains. Scientific developments in healthcare, scientific developments in sanitation, scientific developments in overall, I would say, information and communication technology, scientific developments in defense technology. The more, scientific developments are, the more progress is going to be there. That is simple correlation between these two parameters. And if I talk about India, so India has a lot of traditional knowledge or ancient wisdom, we can say. We were the contributors of Ayurveda to the world, one of the earliest forms of medicine known in humankind. We were performing surgeries way back in or during the Indus Valley civilization period, or probably, before or after that as well. We have done some phenomenal, scientific work. Indian scientists are world renowned. They've won Nobel Prizes as well at times. And in the current scenario, if, India develops or focuses well on the science and technology development, then we can drive global scientific progress through innovative solutions, integrate ancient knowledge with modern science to address global challenges like global warming or climate change, and propel national growth and establish a competitive advantage globally. We have the brains, we have the people, we just need to focus. We just need that push, we just need that support, especially from the government. And yes, we can find solutions for ourselves as well as for the world. No doubt about the fact. India is known as Vishwamitra. India is one of the biggest opponents of, discrimination by the West with respect to the developing and underdeveloped countries in terms of technology transfer. We do not do that. A classic example is when we developed that COVID vaccine, we gave it to more than 100 countries in the world. And we did not charge any, IPR fees and all, or IPR royalty and all on that. That is what, we did, and India was acknowledged. India's global stature grew very much. So this is, scientific developments in healthcare domain. Just imagine if we focus upon scientific development in multiple domains, we can contribute to the global development in multiple ways, and definitely that will uplift our stature. Now, key milestones achieved by us in science, technology, and innovation in the recent years, what are they? Let us understand that as well. So, global research standing. India has moved up from 7th place in 2010 to 3rd in the world in terms of scientific research. We have surpassed countries like the UK, Germany, and Japan in scientific publications over the last 5 years. Scientific publications means research papers and all which are published. We are ranked third globally in the number of PhDs awarded in science and engineering, following the US and China. And India has climbed from 81st in 2014 to 39th in 2024 in the Global Innovation Index as well. So these are the recent, I would say, achievements. Apart from these patent filings, India has witnessed doubling of patents filing from 2018 till 2023, and India now ranks sixth globally with 82,811 patents filings in a year. Talking about the startup ecosystem, we have the third largest startup ecosystem with over 1,40,000 startups in our country right now, and we were having only 450 startups in 2016. Just imagine. And many of these startups are in the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics domain as well. India is home to 115 unicorns, means those startups whose valuation is very large. I think it is more than $1 billion. So then it is called as a unicorn, and it is referred to as a unicorn. So these things are there. The challenges are also there which are hindering the progress. First and the foremost and the biggest challenge is investment in R&D. That is insufficient. That is very much, I would say, below average. Now, India allocates just 0.64% of its GDP towards R&D, far below the global average of 1.79%. And you know what? Which country allocates the highest amount of funds for research and development? That is Israel. It is somewhere around 5% of their GDP is allocated for research and development. Even countries like USA, they contribute around 2.5% of their GDP for research and development. In absolute terms, that is the highest. China contributes more than 2%, but India is not able to contribute or allocate more than 1%. That is something which is disturbing. So countries like China 2.43, USA 3.46, not 2.46 but 3.46, South Korea 4.93%, Israel 5 point something percent, they invest in R&D. Second challenge is private sector contribution to R&D. See, research and development is not, I would say, lucrative domain. You don't get the results, or you don't reap the results instantly. That is why there is apprehension of investing money into R&D. You have never, you don't know also whether you will reap results or not. It is like this. So in India, only 37% of total R&D spending comes from the private sector, whereas countries like China 77%, USA 78%, and South Korea 79% see much higher contributions. 37% coming from the private sector. That needs to increase. R&D workforce gap, India has 262 full-time R&D professionals per million people compared to leading global economies. The strategic roadmap for India's future. Now, to ensure sustainable growth and global leadership in science and technology, which we were talking about in the first slide, we need, certain focus areas. And, the key areas which we should be focusing upon is sustainability and resilience. This becomes very important in this, or in these times of climate change or global warming. We need to make, whatever technological developments are there, they need to be sustainable, means environment friendly. They should be resilient, means if climate change or global warming happens, which it will, that should not impact that particular technological development. So that one thing which we need to focus upon, then only our technological development will be finding solutions to the problems of the world right now, and global warming is one such problem. Then resource optimization. We need to use the resources, whatever resources, natural resources, human resources, optimally. And like for example, water. So we should develop such kind of crops which use less water as compared to the traditional crops. So that is obviously, leading to resource optimization. Just an example which I gave you. Inputs you have to reduce, outputs you have to increase. And you have to increase the outputs by, you know, uh, using sustainable methods. You have to create supply chain resilience. Supply chain resilience means the, supply of the products from one place to the other place. Those supply chains should be resilient. They should not be impacted due to any shock. Then we should be focusing upon longevity and viability of life. Longevity is basically whatever product you are making, that should be more and more, I would say, long, that the life of that product should be more, so that wastage reduces. Wastage will reduce, automatically resource consumption will reduce. And nowadays products are being made whose life is 5 years, 4 years, like this electronic products, for example, if I talk about. But if you focus upon longevity of those products, there will be less need for the raw materials to be mined for creating those electronic components. That is something which will be more sustainable. Then India's leadership in critical technologies. So critical technologies are those technologies which are very much important for the socio-economic and security perspective in the 21st century. So first is smart materials and biofuels. We are focusing upon this. So India is making substantial strides in smart materials, biofuels, and natural language processing technologies. AI algorithms and photovoltaics. Photovoltaics for solar power generation, AI algorithms for advanced solar energy technologies and all. We are linking AI with solar power generation. We can do this as well. Then cyber security and quantum technologies. India is advancing in cyber security, quantum sensing, and quantum cryptography, which is very much needed because cyber crime and all is increasing a lot in the world, not only in India. Then drones and robotics. India is fostering innovation in drones, robotics, and photonic technologies, which are vital for industrial, agricultural, and defense applications all across the world. Now, mission-driven programs for accelerating technological progress. So, what are the kind of missions which we are running? First is this National Quantum Mission, then National Mission on Interdisciplinary Cyber Physical Systems. Then it is India AI Mission next. Then India Semiconductor Mission, National Green Hydrogen Mission, and last is Mission Mosam, focus on improving climate predictions and weather systems. Now, these programs aim to drive India's leadership in frontier technologies while focusing upon sustainable development and strategic security. Biotechnology and bioeconomy, a vision for 2030. Now, India has ambitious plans for this biotechnology and bioeconomy development as well, aiming to create a US 300 million bioeconomy by 2030. The bioeconomy means using the natural resources for having some commercial value of that. The Bio E3 policy, biotechnology for economy, environment, and employment, which promotes bio based chemicals, precision biotherapeutics, and lab grown foods. These efforts are critical to building a resilient and sustainable bioeconomy that can meet the challenges of both economic growth and climate change. So, these I would say, technology and bioeconomy is environmentally sustainable. The Bio E3, E stands for economy, environment, and employment. All these are critical factors. Next is India's space exploration ambitions. So, India's space exploration goals are bold and forward thinking. Chandrayaan 4, advancing lunar exploration and seeking to unlock the moon's mineral resources. Then Bharatiya Antariksh Station, that is to be launched by 2035 as announced by our Prime Minister after the success of Chandrayaan 3. Then Gaganyaan mission, aiming to send 3-member crew to space. Astronaut moon landing, expected by 2040 by India. Now, India aims to capture a 15% share of the global space economy, which is booming with private sector participation now, and India has facilitated private investment in the space sector. The next is this institutional support. To further bolster scientific and technological progress, so Anusandhan National Research Foundation bill was passed in, this 2023 last year. Now, key objectives were position to India globally, align R&D with national imperatives, increase the, expenditure in R&D. That is the ultimate aim or the first or foremost aim of this particular bill. Then foster inclusive growth, build R&D capacities in state and central universities, ensuring equitable access to scientific resources. Encourage excellence, cultivate high impact research ecosystem, and drive frontier technologies. Bridge academia industry gap, accelerate commercialization, and foster entrepreneurship in the private sector. So, all these things are to be done according to that bill. Future funding and innovation. Now, India has committed to 1 lakh rupees 1 lakh crore to R&D fund, which will stimulate private sector innovation, promote industrial applications of research, and create global competitive industries. And this is as per this bill, Anusandhan Research Foundation bill. That has to be done, because that is one area where India is lacking, and that area has, as you know, is something which is very, very important. It is very substantial. I cannot say that, acha, theek hai, we are lagging in that. Doesn't matter. We are excelling in other, I would say, domains with respect to scientific development and all. I cannot say this. That is one such, I would say, core area where we are lacking, and that has to be focused upon. R&D investment, or investment in research and development. If we are able to overcome that, if we increase the investment in that, and the research and development is being done in those areas or those sectors which are the problems being faced by the world right now, and we come up with answers to those problems, obviously it will benefit our country, it will benefit the entire world, and it will definitely increase our global stature further in the world. That is what we need to understand and know. We have that inheritance of ancient wisdom with us. We should be putting it to use. That is what we need to do. Next is reaping India's demographic dividend. Dividend means profit. Demographic means study of population. The population related profit. Population related profit will happen only and only when the maximum population of your country is in the working age group. This is a prerequisite or precondition for demographic dividend to be reaped. But let me tell you very clearly one thing, that by merely this situation that majority of the population of your country is in the working age group, you will be reaping demographic dividend. This is not going to happen. What if you have not generated ample employment opportunities for that workforce? What if that workforce is not skilled, is not educated? What if that workforce is not motivated enough to work? Then that workforce, which is in the working age group, which is the maximum proportion of population in your country or in your society, these people are highly energetic, because working age group is largely considered from 15 to 59. If they are not having ample employment opportunities, neither they are educated or skilled, neither they are motivated, they will turn up, or they will look, they will pick up activities like crime and all. They will divert their energies in such kind of domains. That is going to be a demographic disaster, not a demographic dividend. So that is what you need to know and learn about it. Now, in India, we generally consider working age group from 15 to 64. Largely, it is considered as 15 to 59, but yes, 15 to 64 le lo aap. So 59% of our population was in this particular age group in 2011. Presently, 63%, 2021, 63% of our population was in this particular age group. So it is way more than half. And, it is expected to remain stable for the next 15 years. So when you have this much population in the working age group, means you have that ability to produce. You have that ability to consume also, because those people who are producing will be earning something out of it, and they will be consuming them also. To become a 30 trillion economy by 2047, presently we are somewhere around 5 trillion economy as of now. And achieve an annual per capita income of $18,000, India faces the challenge of multiplying real per capita income sixfold over the next 23 years. The labor force will be central to this growth, with a focus on improving skills and fostering competitive firms that integrate with global markets. Defining employment in India. Understanding employment is crucial to addressing India's labor force dynamics, according to the International Labour Organization ILO. Current weekly status. Did you work at least 1 hour in the preceding week? That is considered. Usual status. What was your primary and secondary job for more than 6 months in the preceding year? So, if you are focusing on, or if you are able to address these two things, you are considered to be employed. In India, a significant portion of the workforce is engaged in seasonal agricultural work. The usual status is a more accurate reflection of employment. Obviously, this usual status is taking into account, work from 6 months. in the preceding year. And this is, taking into account 1 day in a particular week. So this is a more accurate status of employment if, survey is done with respect to, participation in labor force and all. Now, key employment data. India's labor market shows promising growth in terms of both job creation and labor force participation. Employment opportunities: over 8 crore jobs were created between 2017-18 and 2021-22, with an average annual job creation exceeding 2 crore. Labor force participation rate (LFPR) increased from 57.9% to 60.1% for individuals aged 15 and above, indicating a broader economic inclusion of the workforce. The worker population ratio improved from 56% to 60.1% during the same period, reflecting growth in labor force engagement. Reduction in unemployment. This is something where the government is criticized a lot, but yes, actually, according to the periodic labor force survey, the employment growth has consistently outpaced labor force growth, leading to a reduction in unemployment rates, which is somewhere around 3% as per the periodic labor force survey. Structural dimensions of employment, challenges and opportunities. Slow industrialization is one such challenge. Industrial growth has lagged behind the demographic transition. However, recent decades have seen improvements in the employment to population ratio. Link between productivity and real wages. So, real wages are intrinsically linked to labor productivity, which depends on better human capital and technological adoption. Rising earnings and job creation are essential to leverage India's demographic advantage. Labor productivity. India's productivity growth has supported its 6% annual growth over the decades. And according to the Economic Survey of 2023-24, India needs to generate 8 million non-farm jobs annually to accommodate its growing workforce. If India fails to do so, then there will be growth, but there will be jobless growth, which India has been facing till now, and India does not want this to face. If employment will not be there, then there will be more inequality in our country, which obviously is a big roadblock to the progress of any society. Women and youth in workforce. Participation of women is very much important. When the Indian Prime Minister announced about entering into the Amrit Kal from the Independence Day speech from Red Fort in 2022, he specifically focused upon Nari Shakti, that if the women do not participate in the workforce, forget about being there in 2047, that you will be a developed country. So, participation of females in the workforce is very, very important. The female workforce participation has increased from 24.5% in 2019 to 37% in 2023, mostly in agricultural and unpaid family work. Expanding women's participation in the workforce is vital for inclusive growth and addressing gender disparities in economic outcomes. Youth employment. Youth unemployment has reduced from 17.8% to 10%, but unemployment amongst the first-time entrants remain a persistent challenge. Targeted youth employment programs are critical to providing meaningful opportunities for the next generation. So that is very much needed, and skillful workforce has to be there. Budgetary support, if I talk about the union budget, it plays a critical role. How much funds are being allocated for, employment and skilling programs. So that is very much needed. So these initiatives are designed to enhance the skills of the workforce, particularly in emerging sectors such as IT, manufacturing, and services. Women-led development such as working women's hostels, crèches, and skilling initiatives support women's participation in the workforce. If these facilities are not given to the women, the women participation will be always lagging in the workforce. Next is challenges in employment generation. The first challenge is small size firms. So Indian firms, they are, MSMEs, micro, small and medium enterprises. So micro enterprises, they are small in size and they have their limit of employment generation. That is why, employment generation by them is not so high, I would say. Informality in employment is there. 90% of India's workforce is in the informal sector, means they are not having access to any social security like insurance, pension, and such like. So, that is something which is not a healthy sign. Skewed employment towards agriculture. In the agricultural domain, around 46.6% of the workforce is, but if you see the contribution of agriculture sector in the GDP, it is less than 20%. Means around 50% of India's workforce is generating 20 or less than 20% of the GDP. That is why it is called as skewed. They should be generating more, or there should be less people over there if GDP contribution is that much. Now, the role of states in employment generation. The states with growing young population, Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, and all are there. The states must focus on creating job opportunities for the youth, leveraging their demographic advantage to build a skilled, productive workforce. So, skilling them and then creating job opportunities for them, that should be the focus. States with aging populations like Kerala, Tamil Nadu, these South Indian states, they had taken initiatives for family planning early on. So, there the population is aging. So these states need to focus on policies like skill upgrading, healthcare, and support for elderly population. That should be the focus. Integrated labor markets, developing support systems for internal migration, such as skill centers and employment exchanges, is critical for ensuring balanced economic development across the country. So, this is the strategic focus for leveraging demographic dividend. What is the strategic focus? Skill development and education. That should be there, no doubt about the fact. Right? If you have to reap the demographic dividend, so this should be there. Incentives for MSMEs for promoting employment generation and all should be given. Enhancing productivity, improving labor productivity by promoting technology adoption, automation, and better working conditions. All these should be focused upon. Formalizing the workforce means bringing the workforce under the ambit of social security more and more. That will secure the workforce and reduce their uncertainties. And if we have to unlock India's demographic potential, we will have to do it in this way. Quality employment generation should be focused upon, not substandard or sub-quality. And this can be done by investing in skill and education, promoting MSMEs, formalization of the workplace, fostering youth and women participation, and developing state-specific policies. It should not be like one policy fits the entire country. Whatever is the demand, whatever is the situation of that particular region or state, accordingly, the policy should be there. So, this is how things should be focused upon. Then only by 2047, we will be there. Else, our Prime Minister says that this 21st century belongs to that country which will be focusing upon or which has the advantage of its human resources. We have the humans. We just need to make them worthful resources. That is what the focus should be. So, this is it from the first part of Yojana. I will be meeting you with the second part of Yojana and I will be covering the next two topics in those. So, till then, you stay tuned for the second part. Namaste. Jai Hind.